Hello, everyone, and welcome to Palmetto Sports Daily. Rick Henry here in Columbia. We have Teagan Brown in Myrtle Beach, Kevin and Bilodeau in Charleston, and Carmine Jamay in Greenville. And we're going to lead off the show tonight talking about men's basketball. The Gamecocks, they did something over the weekend that they hadn't done in over a month. They won a basketball game. They snapped their 7-game losing streak by beating Mississippi 97-89 is Carolina's first win in 32 days. And finally, we saw the team that we thought we were going to see. At least according to head coach Lamont Paris, we thought we were going to see all season long. They were making three-pointers, 12 of 24. They shot 55% from the field altogether, 50% from threes, and that's one reason they were able to come away with that first win in over a month. Here's Elijah Strong talking about that.
We've been in a lot of winnable games. Kind of experienced the same thing last year with the group last year. Really good team, but just couldn't find ways to finish. So today was big for us, big for our confidence, and things of that nature. Because we know we are a talented team. We know we're a really good team, and we just got trim fat in some edges. We could be a really good team to close out this season.
They could have come that close to their field goal accuracy that they had on Saturday. Perhaps maybe they would have a better record than 12-15, 3-11 in the SEC, maybe at least above 500. And their next game is tomorrow night against a Kentucky team that is also struggling, at least by Kentucky standards. Carmine, what's happening with Clemson?
Oh, not good, Rick. It seems like the script has flipped, at least for one game and one Palmetto Sports Daily, between Clemson and the Gamecocks. Although the Gamecocks, they got to find ways to win sustainably. I mean, if you have to shoot 50% from three, 55% from the field, and you give up almost 90 points a game, it's going to be tough to stack those wins. But happy they did get a win. As far as Clemson, they'd love to get some of those stats to get a win, because right now, if you blink the last 2 weeks, you say, what happened to Clemson men's hoops? They were ranked. They were a 20-4 record, and now they've lost as many games as they had in the first 24 games in the past 2 weeks. They've lost 4 in a row now. And you see the most recent one to former Tiger Chauncey Wiggins and Florida State at home. And then before that, it was Wake Forest, where they fell behind by 20 points on the road and came somewhat close at the end. Before that was the only expected loss of this stretch to a top-5 Duke team at Cameron Indoor, where Duke is now ranked 1 in the country, so that was somewhat expected. But before that, it was a loss to Virginia Tech, and this defense has just gone downhill. I mean, they gave up 70 points, I believe, 3 times during this stretch, where they hadn't done that for since a month before this game, and that was to a previously ranked SMU team. So the defense has gone downhill. The offense, we already knew, wasn't explosive. So with that small margin for error, here you see 4 losses in a row, and Brad Brownell trying to search for answers to turn things back around.
We've had a lot of years here where we've had a couple bad weeks and have bounced back and done a lot of great things. This team did an unbelievable job to win 20 games. But now we really want 21, and 21 is becoming hard. So, we've got to fix some things and just kind of hang in there.
And one of the big problems in that last loss to Florida State was giving up 29 points to Florida State guard Robert McRae V. He scored 22 of his 29 in the second half. Clemson actually took a late lead but couldn't hang on. A couple bright spots. Ace Buckner scored 13 points in just the first half, but then he only had 15 for the game, so only 2 points in the second half. Dylan Hunter with 13 points, his most in 2.5 months, the starting point guard for Clemson. But now a week off in between games, and then they host a ranked Louisville team, which is playing against the ranked UNC team tonight. So that'll be another tough game. Teagan, the Tigers trying to avoid losing 5 in a row after starting 20-4, so hopefully they can turn things around.
Yeah, definitely a surprising turn of events for the Tigers. I think Coach Brownell really has to sit down and just figure out what has gone wrong in these last few matchups. As for Coastal Carolina, they've got a lot of stuff going right this season, which is weird to think about for someone who's been covering this team the last 2 years and has really seen them struggle. The Chants are now 17-12 on the year, 9-7 in the Sun Belt after a win against Marshall. And this is my very first season here where I've seen them in the positive in the Sun Belt and in regular season ending the year. So, a really good turn of events for Coastal Carolina. Rasheed Jones hitting a career high 29 points. He is the only returner who got real playing time last year on this team. He's surrounded by a ton of transfers. Huge night for him. It was also the last home game for Coastal in the regular season. And you can see a whole bunch of people there in the stands. A lot of green, a lot of Marshall fans actually traveling to this one. Coastal Carolina never trailing in this matchup. They had the 36-24 lead at halftime. Now Marshall did come out in that second half, outscored them 51-43 just to, try to make a comeback, but that did not happen. And there's Coastal with a good block as well. Pete actually set a school record with 7 blocks as Coastal Carolina won this game. So now Coastal has 2 games left. Both of them are on the road. Coastal Carolina heading to Georgia State tomorrow, and then they will face JMU for the second time this season to cap off the regular season. Coastal just played them last week in Conway. So exciting end of the season for Coastal because they're going to end in the positive in both the Sun Belt and the regular season, no matter what, Kevin. How are those low country teams?
Yeah, we had a busy weekend here in the Low Country, starting off with the College of Charleston, wrapping up their home schedule this past Saturday as they took on Monmouth, and the Cougars coming away with another big victory. The inside presence really coming through for CFC once again. Christian Reeves close to another double-double for CFC. So they now go into the final week of the regular season. For them, 1.5 games back of first place UNC Wilmington. They play Thursday morning, and then they play Wilmington at UNCW coming up on Sunday. So still a chance for them to take over first place, but the important thing for CFC is that win on Saturday did give them a double bye for the CAA tournament, which the top 4 seeds get. They've clinched one of those top 4 seeds, so that means they're going to avoid playing the first couple of days in Washington, D.C. at the CAA tournament. So that is a really good thing for Chris Mack and the Cougars as they get ready to wind down the regular season here over the next 6 days. Meanwhile, Charleston Southern, we have talked about how close these guys have been over the course of the past month or so. We keep coming up with close losses again and again. And it happened again this past Saturday as they lost in double overtime at home, taking on Longwood. Now, this was a game that CSU actually led by 12 points at the half, but Longwood came back, had a huge run in that second half, came back and took the lead. CSU actually had to hit some free throws with less than a second to go to tie things up and send it into overtime. They would go out to double overtime, and that's when it seemed like the Bucks just ran out of gas. They end up losing by 8 points to Longwood on Saturday. So just another in a string of what has been close losses, overtime losses. I believe this is their 5th overtime loss over the course of this season. So this was the good start CSU got off to, but they just couldn't hold on down the stretch, losing that one to Longwood. Meanwhile, the Citadel, they lose their 4th in a row and 5th in their last 6 games. They fall at home on Saturday when they lose to Chattanooga. Another big loss for Ed Conroy's team. They've had trouble just kind of keeping pace with anyone at this point as we get towards the end of the regular season. They need to win over the course of the next couple of days. They wrap up the regular season this week with trips to Wofford and Furman into the upstate. So time running out for Ed Conroy's team to kind of get some magic going and get into a little bit of a groove as they get ready to head up to the SoCon tournament in just a couple of weeks. We're going to be right back here on Palmetto Sports Daily as we move to the women's side right after this.
Welcome back here to Palmetto Sports Daily, and we're going to talk some women's hoops. I was thinking about a DMX comparison, the late legendary rapper. For Clemson men's basketball, the DMX song Slipping, Falling, I Can't Get Up came to mind. They're trying to turn things around. But as far as the women's side, they should be playing the Rough Riders anthem from DMX because they took down a top 10 Duke team, the best win of head coach Sean Poppy's Clemson career. It is only year 2, but this is the best win as far as a ranked opponent for Clemson since 2022. If we can take a look at some of the celebration video, unfortunately we can't show you the game-winning shot because of rights restrictions, but we can show you the celebration after the shot heard round Clemson by Hannah Cohn, the three-point shooting marksman that Sean Poppy brought with him from Chattanooga, along with Raven Thompson, and she hit one of the best shots in Clemson women's basketball history over the weekend to take down the Blue Devils. It was a three-pointer with 3 seconds left. There she is, hugging her coach that she's had at both of her college stops to beat the Blue Devils 53-51, knock off the 9th-ranked team in the country on senior day as well. And here's Coach Poppy talking about the meaning of that win.
She had given up a 3 right before that, which we had talked about in the timeout. You know, they love the little baseline drive hammer screens. And so for her to give that up, she was in tears. So to make a big shot right back behind it with tears in her eyes, I'm not sure I've ever seen a game winner with someone shooting it with tears in her eyes. No, I thought it was unbelievable execution.
So a couple more notes from just a great win, and really just illustrates the turnaround that Coach Poppy is leading here at Clemson. And it looks like as long as the Tigers keep on this pace, they're still not ranked, but it looks like they should make their first NCAA tournament since 2019, which is incredible. And this Duke women's basketball team, and Rick, you remember well, and so do you, Teagan and Kevin as well, this was a Duke team that almost beat the Gamecocks women's basketball team in last year's NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16 round by a very similar score. The Gamecocks held on to win 54-50 on their way to making the national championship game. And this Duke team returned a lot of that talent. They came in undefeated in conference play, 15-0 on a 17-game winning streak. And so just an incredible, incredible win to send these 7 seniors out on a high note. Tigers reaching 10 conference wins, Rick, for the first time in 25 years on the women's basketball side. So I know they're not quite up to the Gamecocks level, obviously, but there's a big turnaround happening in Tigertown this weekend. Just the latest and greatest example.
Yeah, you got to take those baby steps. And, yeah, Sean Poppy, excellent job there with the Clemson women.
Yeah, he's been doing great. Big step this weekend, but the Gamecocks just keep on rolling for you guys.
Yeah, I was at the game on Sunday, and it hit me that, you know what? Don Staley is getting this team all geared up for March Madness. They beat a 20th-ranked Ole Miss team pretty handedly, 85-48. She had 10 healthy players. All 10 played. 7 of them played at least 20 minutes. The other 3 had double-digit minutes. And some high-profile transfers, the way that they have developed, and so they're going to be primed for the tournament. You have Medina Okot, the center from Mississippi State, who all of a sudden is a three-point shooting expert. She went 3 from 3 for distance. And Tessa Johnson, who's normally filling it up from 3, she didn't have a single three-point bucket. And you have Tanaya Latson, the transfer guard from Florida State, who led the country in scoring last year. She scored 13 points yesterday. Okot had 17. And head coach Don Staley was asked about how they have assimilated themselves into the program. And she said one area where they're really growing is mentally, their mental toughness and dealing with all the attention that you receive playing for the Gamecocks, both positive and negative. Here's Coach Staley.
Learning to fight through things, fight through the things that we're needing them to do, and fight through things that what they're hearing in social media, fight through things that the comforts of what they had in their other programs, you know. So I mean, but I think our coaching staff has done a great job at just making sure they're okay, the check-ins, the wellness, all that, to make sure they're okay, and I think that's probably what we do best, is to make sure our players are okay no matter what they're going to.
Yeah, Don cited as some examples. You go on social media and there'll be comments like Don Staley can't develop guards, or hey, okay, she can develop the big people like Asia Wilson and Aaliyah Boston. So there's some chatter all the time. Teagan, what you got down there in Myrtle Beach?
Well, we've got the Chanticleers out in Conway, the women's basketball team. They fell against Old Dominion this weekend. That final score was 73-60. This was another situation where Coastal Carolina just in that second half just seemed to get tired, get depleted. I'm really not sure what they're continuing to face in this second half. They were outscored in that final quarter 23-11, and this was a team that came out and had a 17-12 lead to start with. It's this whole coastal chaos mantra that they've got going on. They always come out fast. They always tend to, not always, but they tend to grab the lead pretty early in these games. And then they just seem to lose hold of it. I'm not sure if the chaos is coming on too fast and they can't balance it out or what their issue is. But for them, these last 6 games have been win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. And that continues to be the kind of pattern here. Coastal Carolina getting ready to play Georgia State tomorrow night on the road. Both Coastal teams finishing the regular season on the road, and Coastal Carolina with a negative record on the season. We're going to have more on the other side, though. Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. Of course, it was a full weekend of baseball as we went into week 2 of the season. Coastal Carolina still spending the beginning of the year at home, hosting Illinois and VCU for baseball at the beach. And Coastal Carolina beating VCU twice. However, it was the game against Illinois that I think has put a lot of Teal Nation in a kind of nervous place. They lost that one 14-5 after they just could not stop that Illinois offense in those first couple of innings. Now, here's the caveat. Coastal Carolina did not have Cam Flukie this weekend. He has a muscle strain somewhere in his ribs, and they're just being overly cautious about it right now. Head coach Kevin Schnall saying that was something that happened to him in the preseason, but after seeing him play on opening weekend, they just want to make sure that they're taking care of him because they know that they're going to need him later on in the season. Also, Dom Carbone, one of the best relief pitchers in the country, and he was on a short list for an award for that at the end of the season in the preseason. He is out for the year after getting surgery. Head coach Kevin Schnall announcing that last week as well. So Coastal Carolina dropped from number 6 in that D1 baseball poll to now number 9. It seems to be like that in a couple of the polls. Also on 3 also has them as number 9. So I think right now the biggest thing to worry about with Coastal Carolina, not necessarily the pitching staff. I don't think that has to be a worry yet, but this offense just can't seem to get going. They can't seem to spread out the scoring. So definitely something to keep an eye on for Coastal Carolina. Kevin, how about those low country teams?
Yeah, all 3 of them having pretty solid weekends this weekend, starting off with the team maybe we least expected to, and that's Charleston Southern. The Bucks got a sweep of Elon, winning on Friday, then taking the lead early Saturday before that game was delayed to Sunday. They would finish that up with a win on Sunday and then win the finale on Sunday as well. So that puts the Bucks at 7-0 on this season, and that is the first time in team history they have gotten off to a 7-0 start. So that is a huge deal for Charleston Southern. Chandler Tufo had 6 RBI in that second game on Sunday, and for him, that makes him the all-time leader in RBI in Charleston Southern history, which is a huge deal when you look at just the way guys are moving around so much these days. And, you know, just to take over that lead for a career stat is just a big deal these days. We talked to Carl Kuhn, the head coach, earlier this afternoon. He said he didn't even realize that they had set a record with their start once things got going yesterday.
The kids have played good. It hasn't even dawned on me, and I'm trying to keep our guys' head down because, as you just mentioned, I mean, there's 3.5 months left of the season, right? No one's going 56-0, right? It's a nice story right now, but we want to continue to get better so we can be there at the end. No one cares how you start; they care how you finish, and I think that if we can keep our mind on that, I think we'll be in a good spot.
So the Bucks back in action on Wednesday when they play host to UNC Wilmington. As for the College of Charleston, they've been really up and down so far this season. They opened up with a win over Rutgers last Friday in their season opener, followed that up by losing 3 straight to Rutgers over the course of Saturday and Sunday. Then they go into Coastal Carolina during midweek and get a victory over Coastal. Then they come back this weekend, drop their first 2 against South Alabama. They needed a walk-off homer on Sunday to give a 2-run walk-off homer to come away with a victory and just salvage a game against South Alabama. So the Cougars needing to kind of turn things around and start stepping up as we get here into the 3rd week of the season. The Citadel, meanwhile, they rolled through their weekend as well, picking up a couple of wins over Marshall on Friday and Saturday, and then a win over Army coming up on Sunday. So the Bulldogs now sit at 4-2 on the season as well. Rick, the Gamecocks didn't get off to a great start this weekend, but they seem to kind of turn things around.
Yeah, it was a very nice weekend at Founders Park, the Salute the Troops tournament. And like you mentioned, Kevin, Army came in and surprised the Gamecocks, beating them 9-5, but then Carolina had better results against Navy and Air Force, beating Navy on Saturday 8-0, and then beating the Air Force 4-2. And we have some sound with Paul Maneri talking about the weekend, but producer Nick, I don't know if we have enough time for that. Yeah, we're gonna go to break right now.
"46 years to the day when the U.S. toppled the USSR in the semifinal of the Olympic gold medal men's hockey game, and we all believed in miracles thanks to Al Michaels. We have another gold medal for the men's hockey team, this time beating Canada 2-1 in overtime. Jack Hughes lost a couple teeth, but he won a gold medal after scoring the game-winning golden goal in overtime. Hellebuck saved 41 out of 42 shots, and we're all champions in this great country. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for much more Palmetto Sports Daily.